time, many of you might remember that I was a sponsored student at Capella University, had a brand partnership with them, and as a part of that brand partnership, I actually got to receive my MBA. And I tell you that because I've also had my MBA. The MBA that I'm talking about that I've had for a while is a different acronym. If you want to know what my wealth building MBA is and how I've had it for nearly a decade now, stay tuned because we're going to get into it right now. Hey, Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time online life and business coach as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things. And one of the hats that I now wear, and one of the things that I did that I feel like I haven't mentioned, even though it's been a minute, is that I am also an MBA. I recently received my MBA. Actually, I technically graduated back in October of 2022, but as I'm recording this in March of 2023, I finally got to walk and go through my graduation. Many of you might remember that I was a sponsored student at Capella University, had a brand partnership with them, and as a part of that brand partnership, I actually got to receive my MBA. No, they didn't give it to me. I actually had to study and do my homework and go through the same process that any other student would go through. And so now I've received my master's degree as a part of that. And I tell you that because even though I recently got my MBA, I've also had my MBA, but I'm using air quotes because the MBA that I'm talking about that I've had for a while is a different acronym. In fact, it's an acronym around wealth building. Maybe you've seen a post that I've done about this on Instagram. Actually, I did a speaking engagement here in Houston and I talked about this. So I thought it'd be fun to do this video because yes, I'm an official MBA now and I have an actual, master's of business administration, but even before I had a master's of business administration, I had a different type of MBA that you can have as well that's going to help you create more wealth in your life. And no, you don't have to go to school in order to do that. So if you want to know what my wealth building MBA is and how I've had it for nearly a decade now, stay tuned because we're going to get into it right now. All right, so for a long time, I've been following this framework for building wealth in my own life, and I've called it my MBA, and I called it that before I got my real MBA, which is kind of funny. So now I'm like, I have both. I have like a legit MBA and then I have this wealth building MBA. But it's an acronym. And so to start, the M stands for monetizing a skill. That's the first step that you need on your wealth building MBA journey. And so I talk a lot about this because I find that a lot of people who want to embark on coaching businesses don't monetize skills that actually are lucrative, right? I think in part it's because a lot of people confuse business with charity. Maybe they're like, there's some humanitarian effort that they want to be a part of. And so they try to make that their business when really that should be their charity, right? I always say you have to be careful not to get into a nonprofit niche, meaning you want to choose a niche where part of the demographic that you are targeting actually can afford to pay you and that you have a skill set that you are providing them that is actually of high value so that you have enough money to then just give and to just give away to any niche, so to speak, that can't necessarily afford your services or, maybe there's a underserved population that you really have a heart for, but you don't make that your business, right? You make that your charity. You make that's a part of your generosity, what you give, but that's not necessarily a part of what you sell. And so monetizing a skill goes along with that because oftentimes I find that when people get into not just online coaching, but just online business in general, they want to monetize skills that are not valuable. And so you want to look at what are the skills you have, what are the results that you've gotten as a result of those skills, and of all of them, what are the ones that people do value? What do you see people spending money on? Even if they're not spending money with you, they're spending money pursuing, getting the outcomes that you've gotten through your own skills. And so if this is like a little unclear for you and you're like, but I'm not sure, I'm good at so many things, then you'll definitely want to sign up for my free 5-day Nail Your Niche challenge. This is a challenge that I do. It's kind of an experiment, so I can't, I don't know when you're going to be watching this video in the future, so I can't commit that this is going to be going on forever, but it is a 5-day challenge that I do that walks you through the process of nailing your niche, in particular identifying what is that unique value that you have and what is that skill that you should be monetizing. So if you want to get clear on that, or even if you think you know but you're like, but do I know? You might not know. A lot of people go through the challenge and they're like, crap, I didn't know. So you can click the link below in order to sign up for that challenge. But yeah, the first part of your wealth building journey has to be monetizing a skill, but it's got to be a monetizable skill. skill and the more monetizable it is, the easier it's going to be for you to be able to build wealth. And for the record, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to monetize a skill around, making money or business or anything like that. I've had clients who have monetized skills around motherhood, around marriage and relationships, around health and wellness, around all sorts of things, around education, and they've been able to build, lucrative businesses just by monetizing those skills. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with money, but it should be something monetizable. It should be something that people would be willing to pay for. All right, so we move into the second letter in our acronym, our MBA acronym. So M was for monetizing a skill. Well, B is for building a business. Yeah, so once you've identified what that monetizable skill is, and that's something that people are actually going to pay you for, then it's time to build a business around that. And I emphasize building a business around it because a business is actually an organization, right? It's like a container, it's like an engine or a machine that takes your skill, that takes your know-how, that takes your service and turns it into consistent and reliable income, at least if it's a good business. And so I find that this is where a lot of people struggle. Maybe they have a skill that they know that they're good at, it's monetizable, but they kind of fall down when it comes to actually turning it into a business. And part of the reason they fall down with this is because they're not heeding the acronym. It's actually build a business. So it doesn't mean you just wake up and it's like, oh, I have the business, or even I start the business. You have to build the business, which means over time, you have to continue to lay those bricks so that the business grows, right? And so that's something that I've definitely done from the very beginning. Initially my business was just a blog, and then it was little local events that I was doing, and then I had a digital ebook, and then I had a digital product, and then that digital product turned into a few digital courses, and then I was hosting my first little 4-week life coaching program, and then that grew to business coaching programs and business events, and then one-on-one business coaching, and it's grown from there, right? I've built this business one brick at a time, and I've kept at it. So ask yourself, are you quitting too early? Are you so focused on, how can I get the sale, that you're not building the infrastructure around you? Meaning maybe you're not hiring people, you're not getting support, you're not putting in place the things that you need, even, updating your website or getting, tools, software, and systems. Like, you're not doing any of the things necessary to build the business. You're just out here trying to land clients. That could be problematic, right? And so again, think about it not just from a standpoint of how I can have a successful business, but think about it from a standpoint of this truly is a wealth building journey, right? So we're looking to build wealth with this particular MBA. We're monetizing our skill, but then we need to build a business. Why? Because that allows us to do the A, which is the last part of the MBA wealth building process, which is acquire assets. Acquire assets. This is huge. So many people now focus on the building the business part that they don't then use the revenue generated from building the business to actually acquire assets. And I have seen how powerful this has been in my personal life. I remember when I was working my 9-to-5 job, and it took me like all year to save $5,000 in my 401k. They took a little bit out of my paycheck, and that was with the match. Isn't that crazy? With the 401k match at the end of the year, I was able to save $5,000. And so I think now my business turbocharged. I've been able to save, tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars in my, brokerage accounts and different investments just by virtue of building that business. But I've been mindful as I build my business to acquire assets along the way. In fact, as I'm recording this video, I am in my short-term rental property. I purchased an investment property last year, cash. I call it my content condo. Typically, I rent it out for short-term stays, but when it's available, I actually like to use it as my own little content creation studio, because I'm like, the furniture in here is lit, okay? The lighting, everything looks really good. I like my little content condo, but I'm under no illusions. This is an investment property for me, and this is an asset that I was able to acquire as a part of my business. You might also remember that I recently just got back from South Africa. I held a retreat there. I met with some of my strategic partners and team members that are based in South Africa, fell in love, and I'm already on the hunt looking for how I can buy an investment property in Cape Town. So that's another thing that I'm working on as well. But again, I'm asset minded, right? It's not just to make money. I see a lot of people maybe get successful. They have big sales, they have $1 million launch, whatever, and their online business, and they're on Instagram, like, stunting in front of the new Lamborghini Urus. Maybe this is the Lamborghini Urus dance, right? Or like whatever. And no shade thrown. Like, I have nothing against, nice cars. I bought a Tesla in my business name, right? But my assets fund my liabilities, in the words of Robert Kiyosaki, right? I didn't pay for that. I'm out of my own money. I use my assets to pay for those things. I use my money to buy assets, right? And then the assets, the extra money that comes off of that, can buy the fun stuff and can buy the liability. So yeah, I just find that a lot of people, they get excited about the cash that their business is making, but then they do stuff where they're like, you know, spending it on things that aren't necessarily assets. So you want to be asset minded, but I find that if you follow this formula, again, monetize a skill, a monetizable skill, build a business, and then acquire assets, you too will have a degree in wealth creation. You'll be well on your way to create wealth. And so if this is something that you're really, really keen on doing and you're like, I already know I want to build an online business, in order to do that, I invite you to join me in my signature coaching program, the Next Big Name Bootcamp. This is my signature 12-month coaching program that shows you how to build an online coaching business from scratch, completely A to Z. And not only that, but shows you how to be an authority and truly the next big name in your niche. I've had clients who have been able to generate multiple six figures in their business and become authorities in their own right. And I'd love to help you do the same. If you want to learn more about it, you can click the link below and apply. We'll go through your application, and if we feel like you're a good fit and someone we can actually help, we'll invite you to an enrollment call where you can learn more about all of the opportunity to be a part of the program. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you can't wait for my next video, make sure you're subscribed to my podcast, The Courtney Sanders Show, on both iTunes and Spotify. And if you can't wait for my next podcast episode or my next YouTube video, make sure that you are following me on Instagram. It's CourtneyLSanders on Instagram. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.